Right, tonight, let's have a look at the book and I'll show you what I want to achieve. I think this is only going to take 2 classes to build and maybe 1 class if you want to talk about decoration. I've lost my my charm, literally. I meant the charm on the book. It's around somewhere, but I haven't got it on me just at the moment. But if you haven't really seen the book in its full glory, basically it's called a rolled up mini because it rolls up. I've put a lot of thought into that. So the book actually unrolls and it's quite long, and obviously it's double-sided. Oh, can't turn it over. Double-sided. But what I want to do now is actually just build the base. So this is going to be the base pages and these hinges. And I think one of the things that you need to know is that the hinges are all different sizes. This is the thinnest hinge. Then they go in incremental 1/4 inch. They get bigger incrementally by 1/4 inch. Can't even speak English now. Right through to the last hinge, which as you can see is quite a lot wider, and that is so we can roll it up. But it's not too unwieldy, if you see what I mean. I hope that makes sense. Hi, Holly. So tonight what I want to do is I want to make the hinges. That's the first thing we're going to do. And then we're going to actually make the pages. These things that I'm calling page elements. Hi, Anne. Which are the things like the pockets and such like. We'll do that next week. And then the week after we'll look at decorating and we'll talk about magnets and all of that sort of joyful stuff. So tonight what you're going to need is you are going to need your card, white perhaps, or black or whatever colour you're using for your base, and you're going to need some tyvek. Now people often ask me, and if you apologise if you've heard all this before, but people ask me what tyvek is. Hi Diane. Tyvek, this looks like paper, sounds like paper, but it doesn't tear like paper. So you can see here I'm trying to tear this and nothing's happening. It's actually, I think originally it was made for house building purposes, as Mark will tell me often. It's a membrane, and it is a breathable membrane, which means it doesn't let water in or something. Yes. Yes. Anyway, regardless of what you use it for in house building, it's actually really, really good for books. Mostly it actually goes under any decoration that we do and around the spine. It helps to stop any paper from cracking, because that's always a risk when we are mini book making. Evening Cindy, evening Pat, and Cindy, 2 Cindys. But in this book it's actually going to show, because it's just easier that way. This bit here, that's actually the tyvek. Now what we're going to do first of all is we're going to attach our tyvek to a piece of plain card. Now I'm working in English A4 size. English A4 size is different to American A4 size. English A4 size is, I think, 8 1/4 by 11 3/4 inches. I think it's slightly different in America, but that's what I'm working to. When I say A4, it doesn't matter to a huge degree, because we're not going to use the whole A4 sheet. It's going to be things like 5.5 inches by 7 inches, so you know, less than a sheet of A4. But when I do talk in A4 sizes, I'm talking in English A4, because quite frankly I don't know any better. So what I've got here is a sheet of card, and I have got a sheet of tyvek, and what we need to do, and this can be quite time consuming, is we need to fill up this entire sheet of card with double-sided tape. Now you can use wet glue. It's not my choice, my first choice, when I'm attaching tyvek to a piece of card, because you can get little bubbles in it and it doesn't always stick down, and it is really, really important that we put our double-sided tape on so there are no gaps. Really important. Now I could cheat. This is some double-sided tape that I use that's actually quite wide. It's a couple of inches wide, and that is brilliant because it's really, really quick. But that's just a normal, you know, set of, losing my hair, double-sided tape. Now it's going to take a long time for me to fill that up. So here's my question. How many of you are actually working along with me as we go? In which case I'll do it with this piece. Or are you happy for me to use the bigger piece and you'll just come back to it later? It's up to you. Because I don't think probably there's many of you are actually physically working along with me, but I could be wrong. Yeah, Mel's really good at this bit. What do we reckon? You're working along with me, Terry. Terry, have you got any of the wide double-sided tape, or are you using the thin stuff? What is it, about 1/2 inch, I'm guessing? Story of my life, Kerry. Right, if you don't have tyvek, it is not the end of the world. Oh, Kathy, that's a good idea. That's a very good idea. If you don't have tyvek, don't worry about it. You can absolutely make it without, but it just won't be as strong. You know, there's a chance that it's going to tear. So, okay, all right, it seems that you are working along with me, so we're going to do this the long way around. So talk amongst yourselves. So I want you to take your double-sided tape and I want you to absolutely fill with no gaps your sheet of A4 card. The edges of my tape are covered in cat hair. Okay, so you can see that where I'm putting it here, there's no gaps in between. It's just going to be one whole sheet of double-sided tape filled card. Oops, slightly out there. Never mind. Let's just hope that's not on a cut bit. Yeah, if anybody gets really stuck doing this bit, ask Mel to help you, because she's got it down to a fine art. She's very good at this bit. Oh, Sarah. Sarah, I feel your pain. I always do that when we have visitors. Okay. Right, so I knew it was around somewhere. It's my bone folder, which are in short supply, actually. I'm having real trouble getting hold of these at the moment. You've obviously bought them all out. Right, so here is my sheet of A4, and as you can see, I've completely filled it with the double-sided tape. Now, what I want you to do, you're going to love this bit, is take all of the backing off all of the tape. So essentially what you're going to be left with is one page that's very, very sticky. This is a job that's much easier if you've got nails. Hi Diane, my lady of colour. Go and check out Diane Williams on the Fiskerettes UK Facebook page, and you will see that Diane has the most amazing use of colour of any artist I think I've ever come across. I just absolutely love everything she makes. I'm going to get told off now for saying that, but it's true. She just works absolutely stunning. Can you put up a link to the Fiskerettes page? Oh, he's a good boy, isn't he? Oh, I've missed one. That'll teach me to talk about Diane. You pay me in inspiration, Diane. How can I have missed one? Right. Okay. The reason mine's got black lines on is because of cat hair. Hi, Sue. Right. Okay. So now we've got our piece of card, which is completely covered in this sticky stuff. Now, what we've got to do now is very carefully lay our tyvek on top of the sticky. So we're sticking the tyvek to the card. So I'm just going to start off. I'll just take my glasses off because I can't do this. Otherwise, I'm going to see the top of my head now. If you just stick that corner down really, really carefully, Mel will do this better than me. And then just lay it down bit by bit. It is quite forgiving as mediums go, because I didn't do that terribly well, but actually I haven't got loads of bubbles and things in it. And I'm just going to use my bone folder to make sure that that is stuck down really, really well. So now what I've got is a tyvek card mix. Card on one side, tyvek on the other. This is now super, super strong and untearable. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to cut our hinges up. Now you might want to watch me do this because you can get all of these hinges out of one piece, but you have to be quite careful how you do it. So I'm just going to start off by making myself, just making sure that this is completely straight. I'm just going to take that end off there. Okay. And I think I'll just take that edge off. There. Near enough. Right. Okay. So I am going to cut my hinges at 7-inch depth. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is cut the 7 inches. Okay. So that is 7-inch height. I'm going to turn it round that way, and I am going to cut at 2.5 inches. Okay. At 2.25 inches. At 2 inches. I'm going to get this piece that I've just cut off, and I'm going to cut that down to 7 inches. What was that last one I just did? 2 inches. I'm going to cut at 1 3/4 inches. And I'm going to cut at 1 1/2 inches. Okay, so essentially what I've got here now, I'll trim that off, are 5 hinges, which are the card tyvek mix. Okay, and they're all different widths. Okay, so you can see here that we've got them in 1/4 inch increments. Does that make sense to everybody? I've lost my
Diane's asked you to give a quick flash of what you're making.
We are making this book, which is the Rolled Up Minibook, and it's quite long. In fact, it's very long. Oh, and I've lost some. And what we're actually making right now are these hinges, these bits that go between our page elements. Okay? Hi, Hannah. Yes, it's a mini book, Diane. Okay? Right, so that's what we're making. But right now, we're making these hinges. Okay, so we've cut out the hinges. And what I want you to do now is I want you to get your scoreboards. Okay? And I want you to score with the tyvek side up, because it looks so much nicer. All right, so I've got my card on one side, tyvek on the other, and the card is going to go down onto my scoreboard. And we're going to score first of all at the 2.5 inch side. That means when I say I want to score on the 2.5 inch side, that means that I want you to put the shorter side, the 2.5 inch side, at the top of your scoreboard, okay? And I want you to score at 1/2 inch. Remember to press fairly firmly if you are using tyvek, because you can't rip it, but you need to get through to the other side to where the card is. So you've scored at 1/2 inch. This is on the 2.5 inch side. Hi, Julie, the 2.5 by 7 inches. So we've scored at 1/2 inch. We're going to score at 3/4 inch. We are going to score at 1 inch, 1 1/4 inches, 1 1/2 inches, 1 3/4 inches, and at 2 inches. So what we've got here is we've got a hinge that's got 1/2 inch on each side, and then the other score marks are at 1/4 inch increments. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can. This is the tyvek side, but when you turn it over, this is the card side, which is, I've lost the book already. Here you can see that's the card side, and then that side is the tyvek side. Okay, can you all see that all right? Yeah. Oh, I just lost my scissors. Never mind, didn't need them. Okay, so that's the 2.5 by 7 inch side. What I want you to do now is get the piece that is 2 inches, 2.25 inches by 7 inches. We're scoring on the 2.25 inch side, which means that that's the bit that goes at the top, the 2.25 inches. This is tyvek side up, which means it's our card side that's actually on the board. And I want you to score at 1/2 inch, at 3/4 inch, at 1 inch, at 1 1/4 inches, 1 1/2 inches, and 1 3/4 inches. You can see where this is going, can't you? So now on this hinge, which is 2 1/4 inches, we have got a 1/2 inch area on both sides of the hinge, and then once again 1/4 inch increments inside. This is the tyvek side up, and that is the card side up. We're going to get the next piece. We're going to lay it card side down, so the tyvek side is up, and we've got our 2 inch piece at the top. We are going to, you can work this out for yourself. You can score this at 1/2 inch, at 3/4 inch, at 1 inch, at 1 1/4 inches, and finally at 1 1/2 inches. So exactly the same. We've got the 1/2 inch at either side, and then our 1/4 inch increments in the middle. Okay. The next one is 1 3/4 inches across. Tyvek side up towards us. We are going to score at 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, 1 inch, and 1 1/4 inches. Okay, same again, 1/2 inch at either side, 1/4 inch increments in the middle. Final hinge, tyvek side up. This measures 1 1/2 inches across the top. We are going to score at 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch. Okay? 1/2 inch at either side, 1/4 inch increments there. Okay? And that's the hinges done for now. And we can put those to one side just for the time being. Okay, what I want you to do now is I want you to get your trimmer or your cutter or your guillotine or whatever it is that you're using, and I want you to get your base card. Are you all right so far? Oh, I've lost us. Okay, right, now what we're going to cut now is the actual base of the book. Here's one here's one I made earlier. Sounds like I should be on Blue Peter. You non-Brits might not get that, but never mind. What we're going to do now is we're going to make these pages. This is an undecorated version, okay? This is the one that I made for the tutorial. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut out these end pages and these inside pages. So what we've got two end pages, and then we've got the 4 pages that go in the middle of the book. Okay, and that's what we're going to cut out. I want to put them together and I want to put the hinges in, and that's what we'll be doing tonight. You caught up, Terry, fantastic. Right, so the first piece that we want to cut, we're going to cut 2 of these, and I want you to cut 2 at 6 by 8 inches. Now, on a British piece of A4, you're not going to get those both out of the same sheet. However, that doesn't matter. I am going to cut this at 8 inches this way and 6 inches that way, and that gives me 1. But I'm going to keep this for later because I'll be able to cut something else out of it. So I'm going to cut my second piece exactly the same way at 8 inches by 6 inches. Okay, so we've got 2 at 8 by 6. Then I want you to cut 4 pieces at 5.5 by 8 inches. Now we've got these, haven't we? These bits that we've just cut off. and we can cut, because they're already at 8 inches, we can cut 5.5 out of that. Okay, I'm going to take my next piece of card. I'm going to cut that at 8 inches. And I am going to get those final 2 pieces that I need at 5.5 inches out of that one sheet. Okay, so I've got 4 at 8 by 5.5 inches. Okay, now we're going to cut some more pieces. Now if you look at the tutorial, I've written these measurements in blue because although we're going to cut it the easy way at the measurements that I've suggested, we will have to cut it down slightly. I could say by 1/8 of an inch, but that might be just a touch too much, but it will all become clear. But for now, I want you to... do you know what? I've just looked at this tutorial. You know, I said I was having technical issues. I think the technical issues were in my brain because I've written, look at this. Can you see this? I've written cut 2 at 5.5 by 7 inches and 4 at 5.5 by 7 inches. Why on earth I didn't just write cut 6 at 5.5 by 7 inches? I don't know. But anyway, we need to cut 6 at 5.5 by 7 inches. And we'll probably do that with 3 pieces of card. So 7 inches, what an idiot. Don't agree with me, dear. By 5.5 inches. I know why I've done it like that in my head, but honestly, right, so we need 6 at 5.5 by 7 inches. But we will be slightly cutting these down. A brain hiccup. I think it was, yeah, something along those lines. Oops. Okay, so these 6 pieces that we've got that are 5.5 by 7 inches, I want you to put those to one side because those do not need any sort of scoring at all. So those last 6 that we cut, I'm just going to put those to one side for now. Okay. And I'm going to get my scoreboard. So working backwards, these ones that we've got that are 5.5 by 8, I want us to score on the 8-inch side, which means putting the 8-inch at the top. I want us to score it at 1/2 inch and at 7.5 inches. Now we've got 4 pieces of card that size and we're going to score them in all exactly the same way. So 1/2 inch and 7.5 inches on the 8-inch side. Okay, so we've just got those 2 score lines there. There's nothing else on that one. Half an inch and 7.5 inches. Okay, so what we've got left now are these 2 final largest pieces of card, which we have cut at 6 by 8 inches. And I want us to start on the 6-inch side. So we're going to put the 6-inch at the top, and I want us to score at 1/2 inch on the 6-inch side. I then want you to scoot it round 90 degrees, so we're scoring on the 8-inch side, and I want you to cut the score even at 1/2 inch and at 7.5 inches. So what we've got here is a piece of paper with 3 score lines, 2 intersecting. Okay, so it's like a U shape really, and we're going to do that on both of them. So with the 6-inch side at the top, we're going to score at 1/2 inch, and we're going to score at 5.5 inches. No, we're not. Don't do that. We're going to score at 1/2 inch. We're going to squidge it round 90 degrees to the 8-inch side, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch, and we are going to score at 7.5 inches. That will do just fine. Okay. Right. I think it's time for my bed. Right. The first thing we're going to do is we'll do the most complicated first, and we're going to work on our end pieces, which are these ones, the ends of our book. Okay. Now I dropped my scissors, so hang on while I pick them up. Oh, gosh. Okay. Right. The first thing that I want you to do is I want you to miter this corner where the score lines intersect. So I'm on the biggest piece, which are the 6 by 8 inch pieces with the 3 intersecting score lines. And I am going to cut up to where the score lines intersect. I'm just going to slightly change the angle of my cut, and I'm going to cut it there. So I'm going to miter the corner like that, okay? And I'm going to do that on both of those corners, and I'm going to do exactly the same on the other piece as well. Okay, so I've now got 2 pieces of card with the score lines and the mitered corners. Okay, I'm going to fold up those flaps on 3 sides, and I'm going to burnish it with my bone folder, which needs a clean again. All right, so I'm going to make sure that I've got really, really, really sharp creases. Okay. Now I haven't got, oh, I don't know, there might be one left of these in the shop, but I have got some really neat little packs with the small bone folders in, that have got some other bits and pieces in as well, you know, the useful tools that's worth a look, and I'm sure Mark will pop up the link if anybody's interested in that. But I do love these bone folders, these Memory Keepers bone folders. I think they're absolutely brilliant. Never go anywhere without it. Okay. Right, so these are the ends of our, I'm just going to take my cardigan off, it's getting warm now, it was cold earlier on. These are the ends of our book. So what I want you to do now is I want you to get 2 pieces that we haven't scored, the ones that we cut last that aren't scored at all, and I'll show you why we're going to trim them. If we try and put this inside here, which is where we're going to glue it, it's just ever so slightly too big. Don't know why, it's just one of those things that always happens. It's just ever so slightly too big. But we want it to fit in snugly inside the folds. But if we try gluing that now, it's not going to sit flat. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my trimmer, which I've lost, here it is, and I am going to take off just a slither. See, on one side, one of the long sides and one of the short sides, and see if that will slip in here, which it absolutely does. Okay, and I'm going to do that on both of them. You don't need to take much off. When I originally wrote this tutorial, I suggested that you take off 1/8 of an inch, but actually that's just a little bit too much. You just want to take off, it needs to be just a touch under that inch. Okay, so these need to slip inside yeah, that one fit. Slip that just inside. That's going to need a little tiny bit more off. Yeah, that fits quite nicely. Okay, so what we're going to do now is glue. So if you take that out, open up your page, get your glue. Glue on the inside of that flap. Don't need a lot of glue, just enough to hold it together. And I want you to take your piece of card, that's the one that slips in, the one that's got no score lines on it, and I want you to make sure that it is flush with that outside edge here where there's no flap. We're going to fold these over now and stick them down. Now if you have got a little gap in your corner, don't worry about it, because it'll all be covered up with the pattern paper. Okay, so don't worry about it. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. I just want to make sure that that's stuck down. Okay, so if you look really closely here, you'll see I've got a little gap in that corner. It doesn't bother me in the slightest because I'm going to be covering that with pattern paper, but it means that this sits flat. So what we've got now is a page, but it's got an opening, so it's like a kind of a pocket enclosed on 3 sides. Okay, I'm just going to stick that under there to dry, and I'm going to do exactly the same with the other side. So I'm just going to pop some glue on the inside of the flaps. I'm going to make sure that the edge of my card is flush with that non-flapped side. And I'm going to glue those flaps down on top. Oop. Just make sure that they're stuck down. Okay, so what I've got here is a pocket enclosed on 3 sides. All right, and I'm just going to put those aside to dry. I tend to put things underneath my mat because I find that that holds it down whilst I'm doing other things. A little bit of pressure on top of them I don't think is a bad thing. So what we've got left now are our 4 middle pages. We've got the pieces that are scored on 2 sides, and what we're going to do now is we're going to fold those flaps over like that on each of them. And we're going to burnish them so we've got a really good clean edge. That doesn't look at all straight. Never mind. It'll all work out in the end. It always does. Right, now the flat pieces that we've got that we haven't scored at all are the right width for these bits of the pages. They don't need anything cutting off the width. They're exactly the same. However, it might be that we need to trim a tiny bit off the height, which we do. I knew we would. So I'm going to take each of those 4 pieces that I've got left that have got no score marks on them, and I am just going to take a tiny sliver of card off each of them. So you can see it's really not much that I'm taking off at all. So now that should slip nicely in there, which it does, but I'm tempted to just take a tiny bit off. Some of this is a little bit of trial and error. It doesn't need much, but you know, some. Right, and I'm going to take that off each. And it was easier for me to say cut it this easy size and then we'll trim off, rather than tell you to start cutting, I don't know, 5 3/8 or something. Hannah would hate that. Okay. So let's just check for size. Yep, those fit in. So I'm going to open that up again. Hi Gwen. Got some peace now. And I'm going to pop some glue on the inside of that flap. And the inside of that one. Remember, we've only got 2 flaps on these 4 pieces. Oh, do you know, I can't see with my glasses or without. Hang on. And we're going to put a piece of card in, make sure that it's flush side to side. Have I already put one in there? No. And we're going to put that flap down there. Now, the reason I do it this way round is purely aesthetic. There's no other reason for it. We could just put the glue on the outside and lay the card on top. But for me, I like to have that edge on there rather than have, you know, sort of a piece of card on top of a piece of card. I prefer to have that rounded edge. So that's why we always end up doing a little bit of trimming. So now what we've got is a page where we've got the flaps, and we can see all the way through it. So this is only joined on 2 sides. And we've got 4 of these to make, but they're all made in exactly the same way. So I'm just popping my glue on the inside of that flap. Laying my flat piece card on, and I'm just gonna, oh, could you trim that down a bit more? Never mind, it'll be all right. I'm just gonna, there we go. Okay. So glue on the inside of the flap. There we go. I'm going to glue that down. Okay, and the last one I've got here. Put some glue on the inside of the flap. And we'll put our final page on there and glue that down. Now, if you're like me and you haven't cut it as well as you might, got ever such a slight overhang there. Once it's dry, I can always trim that off. Look, these things happen. It doesn't bother me any. It shouldn't bother you. Okay, so what I've got now are my 4 pages, which have got holes in the middle, and my 2 covers, which are enclosed on 3 sides. Okay, so what I need to do now is get my hinges. These are the bits that we scored earlier, and I want you to trim off the corner. So what I want you to do on each of them is cut from the edge up to the first score line. Okay, not at any particular angle. This just makes putting the book together a little bit easier. So you can see I've cut from the edge up to the first score line, and I've done that on all 4 sides of the hinge, and I'm going to do that to all of them in exactly the same way from the outside edge to that first score line, no matter how many score lines are in the middle. So this is the thinnest hinge, and I've cut from the outside edge through to the first score line. Now once we've done this, you need to keep your scissors handy because there may be some trimming. There isn't always, but sometimes there is. Because what we're trying to achieve is this one long, flat, continuous line of pages. A little bit fiddly, so make sure you've got room to work because it gets quite long. Okay, so I've cut from the edge up to my first score line. Right, I'll just get rid of all of these bits. Now, to make this easy, I suggest you put your hinges into size order. Okay, so mine go from widest down to thinnest. Okay, right, how are we doing? We all right? Okay, I want you to take the widest hinge. This is the one that is 2.5 inches across, and I want you to take one of your corner pages, and I want you to have the corner page so that the flaps that we've glued are facing upwards. I want you to take your hinge with the tyvek side facing upwards, and I want you to check that it just slots in like that up to the first score line. Now I'm not happy with the fit up there. So what I'm going to do is trim it down ever so slightly. Hang on, hair's in the way. Just a tiny, tiny bit. And I'm going to see if I like the fit any better. So I'm putting the hinge into that pocket up to the first score line. And now, if you can see, what I've got now is a perfect fit. These are flush. So I have got, this is important, I have got my flaps uppermost and the tyvek uppermost. And that hinge slips into that pocket perfectly flush now. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah. We all right? Now I'm happy with that fit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get my glue and I am going to put glue on the hinge, on that 1/2 inch bit that we've left, up to the score line on the tyvek side. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. We're going to turn it over, so we're now card side uppermost, and we're going to put glue on that same side up to the score line. Okay. And I'm going to put this back inside that page. And I'm going to make sure that it is sealed really, really well. Because what we've got now is a totally enclosed page. All right, so we've got the flaps uppermost, tyvek, hinge inside up to that 1/2 inch score mark. When we turn it over, we have got the plain card moving through to the plain card on the outside of that hinge there. Okay, and we're going to make sure that that is adhered really, really well. What we're going to do next is we are going to take one of our 4 pages that are all the way through. They're only sealed on 2 sides, the top and the bottom. And we are going to slip it onto this part of the book here. And that should fit perfectly, which it does. I'm happy with the fit there. So I am going to put my glue on. I'm going to put my glue, sorry about moving these things around, it's the joys of being left-handed, I think. But I'm going to put the glue onto that 1/2 inch flap, up to the 1/2 inch score mark on the tyvek side. And I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to put glue on that 1/2 inch flap up to the score mark on the card side. And now I am going to slip it into that page there, up to that score mark, that first score mark, and I'm going to glue it down so that end of the hinge is sealed inside the page. Okay? We all right with that? So what I've got now is the first 2 pages of my book. This is the outside cover. Well, it's the inside cover, but it's the final, the first page of the book. This is the second. So on the one that I made earlier, this, I don't know if this is all in shot. I'm hoping it is. I'll see in a minute. I'm a little bit ahead of what you're seeing. But this is what we've made. Okay? And I'm hoping that's in shot for you there. So we've got our cover page, we've got our first page, okay? That's where the correlation is. Right. What I want you to do next, now we've got that all enclosed, is I want you to take the next widest hinge, which was 2¼ inches along the top, and we're going to slip it into this opening here. Just check it for size. That fits already. I don't need to trim anything off there. And once again, exactly the same process. I'm going to put some glue up to that first 1/2 inch score line on the tyvek side, and exactly the same on the card side. Oh, good, Steph. I'm glad you're enjoying it. To be fair, this book comes together quite quickly. It looks complicated, but it so isn't. Right, and then I'm going to slip that into the opening of that page, up to where the score line is, that first score line, and I'm going to glue it down, adhere it down really well. Okay. So this hinge was 2½ inches. This is 2¼ inches. Sarah, you can do it whatever way round you like. Okay. Right. Guess what happens next? We're going to take another of our pages that are only stuck on 2 sides. Check for fit. Happy with that. And we're going to pop some glue on the tyvek side up to that 1/2 inch score mark, and also on the other side. Oh, right-handed can't do it. Up to that score mark. And we're going to slip that page in. Up to the score line. Oops, all squidgy. And we're going to glue that down. Okay, on both sides. Right. So just quickly, just to show you, this is what we've done now. We're up to this page, and that's that page there. Okay. Guess what happens next? You'll be amazed. Evening, Fiona. We're going to take our next hinge. Incrementally, this is the one that is 2 inches across. And we're going to slip it into this opening here. Just check it for size. Yep, happy with that. I'm going to glue it up to that 1/2 inch score line. On both sides. Pop it in to that opening there, up to the score line, and adhere that down. Now, the only reason that I'm saying about keeping your flaps up on all the same side is I just believe that it keeps it looking tidy. Hello, Larissa. Okay. That is a beautiful name. Where are you from? Okay, next piece, we're going to grab another of our pieces that are just enclosed on 2 sides. We're just going to check that that fits in there, which it jolly well ought to, and it does. And we're going to put some glue on the tyvek side, up to the 1/2 inch line, turn it over, glue on the other side. I'm going to pop that in with the flap side up to that score line, and I'm going to adhere that down. make sure that I've got a really tight seal on that, on both sides. Okay, right, it shouldn't come as any surprise to you that we've got 2 hinges left, and the next one that we're going to use is the one which was, I'm guessing it was 1 3/4 inches. So you have to keep moving your book up because it's getting long now. Check it for size. Now this hinge is a little bit long, so I'm just going to trim that off slightly. Let's have a look, see if that fits in. Nah, still want a little bit more off. Let's see how that is. Yep. I am going to put some glue on that side and on that side. Do you know, Diane, I had an idea for this book in my head for about 2 years before I finally got around to making it, and it has been through so many permutations from the original. I did, when I was tidying out the craft room after New Year, we did actually find my original, and we made a bigger version of this at the Super Sweet Craft Retreat in Stafford last, when was it? Last October. In fact, let me show you. Hang on. Just need to get that to stick down a minute. Right, everything might fall down now. I'm just warning you that this might all end horribly. But this is the one that we made at the retreat last October. And as you can see, it's quite a bit bigger. Quite a lot bigger, actually. One of Mel's lovely charms. But exactly the same process. I put pockets on the front of this, and when we come to do all the elements next week, Ukrainian Canadian. Do you know, Larissa, one of my favourite paper manufacturers is Ukrainian. They're called Scrapmere. Loads of it on my website. The amount of stuff that is coming out of the Ukraine at the moment for scrapbooking that is amazing is absolutely, it's just amazing. Oh, and Canada, we've already had a conversation about Canada tonight because Mark and I want to retire there. So I'll bring my Ukrainian papers and we'll be fine. So this is the book that we did at the retreat, and it's exactly the same, really. It just kind of unrolls in the same way. Some of it's a little bit different, but on the whole, it's quite similar. But if you want to look at that in more detail, there's actually, if you go onto my YouTube, which is Cal Summers, I think, you can have a better look at that. It's on there somewhere. I'll find the link and I'll put it in the group unless Mark wants to go and have a look for it, but it might take you 5 minutes to find it. On the subject of retreats, if anybody's interested, I still have some spaces left on the International Scrapbook Day retreat in Stafford, in the UK, obviously, which is the first weekend in May, 1st to the 3rd of May, and Mel and I will be teaching lots and lots of scrapbooking layouts. So if anybody's interested in that, drop me a line or have a look at the website or on my Facebook page and you'll see. Hello, Karen. Oh, another lady from Canada. Listen, guys, get together. I'll come over and do a class, all right? But yes, if anybody wants to know more about that retreat, let me know. But Mark will find you the link for the YouTube for the original book. So anyway, where were we? It's called, I think it's called Super Sweet Craft Retreat Mini 2019.
Yeah, the cocoa.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. All right, he's found that, so I'll put the link up so you can have a look. Anyway, sorry, easily distracted. Back to the book. We're on the home straight. Last one of these pages that open up on both sides. We're just going to check it for size. This is the one that I messed up, I think. Yeah, let's try it around that way. Yep, that fits. So glue. This is getting a bit unwieldy now. You need to have plenty of... Oh, I can't do this right-handed. You need to have plenty of space to manoeuvre the book now. Sarah and Julie have both finished this already. Well, I'm not really surprised, knowing you two. Oh, hang on, I'm doing this the wrong way. So, I want you to stick this on with the flap side uppermost, up to that first score line, and glue that in. Well, next time you're over, Larissa, let me know, because it's not that big a place, not like Canada. Okay, so now, last one. Pop that in there, check for size, not far off, needs a little bit of a trim. Sounds like my hair. Okay. Glue up to the first score line. On the card side, up to the first score line, pop that in, sealing that last page up. Let's just check on that side. Yeah, that's good. Might have to trim that down a little bit more yet. Okay, so our last page is this last enclosed. Flap side up, and that is going to fit onto there. Okay, this really is getting a bit unwieldy now. I'm going to pop that enclosed page on and glue that down. Oh, I'm loving this. We've got a right Canada Appreciation Society going on here. But you know, guys, if you will steal our royal family... That was controversial, wasn't it? Actually, I really like Harry. I think he's amazing. So I'm jealous more than anything else. Right. There is our book. Now, unlike a hidden hinge system, where we have to wait hours and hours and hours for it to dry, we can pretty much start to roll this up. So I like to have a little clip, and I'm going to start from the thinnest hinge, the one that we've just put in. Okay, it's going to be stiff to start with, but that's fine. And we're just going to roll it up. You'll never guess why I called it the Rolled Up Mini. Okay, so that's the book rolled up. And until next time we meet, I'm going to put a clip in there, just for now, just to keep it together. Now, that's quite stiff. Don't worry about it. it's going to be stiff. It's the nature of the beast. Until the fibres in the paper start to loosen up, it's going to be stiff. But it won't take too long before you can flip and flap it and move it round and do whatever. But at this stage, that's perfectly normal. We just want this book to remember that it's a rolled around mini, which is why I'm just clipping mine and leaving that. No, I know you didn't steal him. He had the good sense to choose an amazing country to go and live in, other than England, obviously. Right, so there we go. Have you managed to catch up? Managed to keep up? Yep, all good. Right, next Wednesday, what we'll do is we'll get together and we will work on the page elements. I will tell you, Steph, your husband, I don't know. I'm sure it looks amazing. And as I recall, that's not the first time he said something along those lines. I think he needs talking to. Right. The page elements in the book, if you want to rush ahead, you've got the written tutorial now. If you want to do that, you absolutely can. But just to remember that although I've got mine in this order, they actually, any of them fit on any page. So you can mix and match as much as you like. If you want to make it all with these little slanted corner pockets, make it all with the slanted corner pockets. I particularly like this little... I've just dropped something. No, I don't know what it was. I particularly like this little belly band page at the back. Now, if you want to, you can make yours all belly bands. It's entirely up to you. You can follow my plan. You can figure out a way to do some different pockets. You can put extra flaps on it. You can do it whatever way you like. But because they're all very, very interchangeable, this is your opportunity to really make this book your own. So that's what I wanted to achieve tonight. I think we've done very, very well in an hour and 20 minutes, which I'd put an hour and a half by, so excellent stuff. Thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you to people in Canada and in Florida and Burntwood, Kerry, and I will see you guys next week. If you want to put up some work in progress pictures in the group, I don't care if they just look like an Amazon box, that's fine by me. I love seeing them at every stage that you do them. And if you're going to make any of the previous books, you know, pop them in the group, because it is so inspirational for other people to see, you know, how you've made these your own and do your own take on them. So you know what, guys, I've really enjoyed tonight. I think I love doing these classes, but I think this has been my favourite one yet. So thank you ever so much for joining me. And I will see you all probably in the group in about 5 minutes. Otherwise, I'll see you all next Wednesday. If you've got any questions, you can message me, you can pop it in the group, you can do whatever works best for you. So thanks again, guys, and I'll see you in a moment.